Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. R.F. Kuang is the writer of Bible, which is one of my favorite books in 2023. She also wrote Yellowface, which has some good points on it, but overall is very underwhelming. I know she started this trilogy long before she wrote Babel, and I've actually had the book for quite some time now, but I never had the chance to get to them because they're buried on my read list because of how disappointing Yellowface was. Then add that disappointment with reading the Three Body Problem trilogy that had such weak character writings that it put me off trilogies for a while. But currently it's been September while I'm making this video, and I thought I can keep delaying this since it's also delaying the other series that's been on my to read pile because this one is at the top of those lists. So I decided to give it a try and see if it's any good. The book starts with our main character Rin going through a test that had a very harsh anti-cheating test, even having the participants stripped before they took their test and not allowing any bedroom breaks despite the test being 12 hours long. Rin is not sure yet how she got there. She's an orphan from a small town named Tikani that is incomparable to the capital city Nikan, and she was a lowly servant girl on the Fang family. When the family first invited her to a room to talk to a stranger, she even tried to run away because she thought they finally decided to get rid of her and sell her to the brothel, which they're not. Instead, they sold her to one man for marriage to the village import inspector. It's not enough that they had her do her drug run for them on a day-to-day basis, they also want to get rid of her to reduce food costs and get a monopoly on the opium market in Tikani. Not willing to go through with that bullshit, Rain decided that she had to find a way out of this. So she went to Eric, a tutor with a gambling problem who often teaches her for free. She made a deal to go to his classes for free in order to take the Keju test, the hardest test in the nation. She had no money because working for the family means working for free in the family. So the only way she can pay for the class is with the opium she stole from them. And the only way she can get out of the marriage with the old inspector is that she not only had to do good at the test, but aced enough to get a tuition to synagogue, the biggest school of their nation in Ikan. She just need to memorize a lot of books with all her free time. This is where we got some of the history of the War of Poppy War, the nation of Nikan and its long history of war, the occupation attempt from outsider, and the two Poppy War they had to go through before they got their independence back. So far the book is amazing. It has a very efficient use of subtle exposition that also gave us more of not only about the war but also the characters. Rin is the Mulan of this series, a strong-headed girl with a tragic background who is quick to put her plan into motion when she was put under pressure. Nikan itself is quite obviously loosely based on China's long history with Poppy, which at one point involved the British trying to sell their opium supply to China because it was banned in England, and ends up with Hong Kong being occupied by England before it is now occupied by China. But back to Nikan, where our main character studied for 2 years, cramming every possible subject to her head, even resolving on dripping hot wax to her arm so the pain will make her awake as much as possible until the day of the test. She wanted this so bad that she even prayed to the guardian gods in the temple despite not being a religious person. But something definitely worked because when the test result comes out, she was at the top of the test scorer, not just in the village but in the province. She can escape her marriage now by going to synagogue. And she doesn't even have to have rich parents like Harry Potter. Nothing can keep her from going away from Tikani now. She left as quickly as possible, even shoving on the aunt's little boy Kaseki, who's been very dependent on her growing up. Well, on her way to Nikan, we had a few more exposition here that gave us more on the setting of the world. We still travel with wagon even to a different city, and there's enough bandits on the road like the infamous Red Jang Opera that they needed bodyguards along with their wagon. And the capital city is even the historical city that is often used in wuxia, the Wudang range. Franny also comes with her to synagogue at this time as her tutor. And after 3 weeks on the road, Rin can immediately witness the living situation in the capital herself. The wagon had to be held by some Federation soldier at first that was supposed to lose the war, having a dispute with the city guard. And once in the city, she witnessed someone hitting a child with a wagon, then going out to try to kill the child because it is cheaper in the long run to kill a person rather than paying for the damage of the accident. Hate to kill out that did happen in China at least a few years ago, even if it was already a rare occurrence at that time. They finally arrive at school after so much has happened, and now that all her registration is complete, Franny had to go back since he's done all he needed to do in the city. And for the first time ever, Rin can feel how alone she is in the city. Everyone talks so differently that she cannot understand what most of them are saying. All of them also had glowing white skin compared to her sunburn and actually burned one. And they all look down on her because she's a country pumpkin who came from the south. And it didn't take long for Rin to get into trouble, punching out pretty boy named Yin on his face because he kept bad-mouthing Fraylin. but this is still a better alternative than going back home, so she had to somehow keep her place in synagogue, which proves to be difficult since that means she had to become an apprentice on one of the main master in the school. One of the class in school is even combat class, where we know that in the world of Poppy War, we had the concept of ki or power, which complete the wuxia incorporation to the story and show how far behind Rin is on her education compared to her classmates that received the best education since they were born. It is also during one of these classes that we also know that they didn't actually won the second Poppy War. It's just one of their enemy caused a genocide in Spiel, one of their island, that caused people from the west to rally in their defense. An event that is loosely inspired by the Nanjing Massacre. The Federation army that tried to occupy them is even from Mugen, a Japanese word for infinite. Life in school doesn't seem so bad compared to her previous life, despite Neisa and his cronies' juvenile classism. She even had a friend named Kite. And the more the school goes on, the more they heard about Altan Trengsin, their prodigy senior who every teacher tried to compare them with. They had the chance to watch him wipe the floor with his opponent on 3 consecutive combat displays. He is a survivor of the Spear genocide that seems to be immune to pain and used to seeing blood. The class continues, still very excited after watching Altan's fight, and when Reed got into combat class with Neisa, Neisa ignored the teacher's advice and go to her full force. She fought as much as she could until the teacher separated them. Then instead of punishing only Neisa for ignoring his teaching, he banished Rin for his class permanently because she's a lazy southerner who cannot even do basic combat properly. Instead of letting this treatment take her down, she dig her heel harder and used her rage to fuel her, desperately trying harder to be the best in their other classes. She even took her own womb when she had her menstruation one day just so she can focus on the now in the class. She got good enough that the only one in class that she cannot outperform is her friend Kite who had an eidetic memory. Irja, the teacher of military strategy at school, even liked her enough to have a discourse with her about military. It is only in combat that she got left behind because she's not allowed in class, but aligned in the village, Shinagard is the biggest school even in the capital and it got a library. And you know how it goes with wuxia and library. She studied combat by herself and watched the arena matches including Altan's matches for further references. She used the lore class that the teacher never came to teach to practice since it was always empty after the student gave up on coming to the class. But of course, unlike Leslie written wuxia, books on the library didn't teach anything since most of the actual training is still a very guarded secret. But because she was training in the lore class, she eventually caught the attention of his teacher Jiang. And since Jiang hated Jun as much as Jun hated Jiang, Jiang decided to teach Rin some basic like carrying a pig up and down the mountain every day. And besides those fundamental physical basics, Jiang also taught her actual combat. The combat that is currently being taught in Nikan and is being taught by Jun in Siragard is combat that had to be quickly made because of the war and the need of the people to practice faster to produce more soldiers. Jiang taught Rin in the form of those combat before it was modified into its current standard. She studied hard enough to make Jiang interested in actually become her master if she went into lore which has been empty for 2 decades. But Rin also wanted something more from life and lore didn't seem like something she should choose for her future. But during the last combat test where she became the champion, she lost control of herself because of rage and Jiang is the only one that can help her. Experiencing this almost supernatural event, she decided to become Jiang's pupil in lore in her second year at school. And she saw more with Jiang than she could ever imagine. Things that he can do that are more in line with Avatar class Airbender than Avatar James Cameron badly written CGI. At the same time, Mugen also got a lot more daring with their skirmishes, enough to make some students decided to go home to defend their town rather than stay at Shinagard. But class still goes on despite that, and Jiang finally trusted Rin enough to let her experience having a god inside her to pull strength from. Jiang gave him some drugs and sent her to meditate in a cave, where after days and weeks, she saw the Pantheon and the 64 gods and the Phoenix. Jiang was glad because this means she can calm herself by going to the Pantheon anytime she loses control, and that he finally had a successor to the study of lore. But what he didn't know is that Rin is thinking of the war with the Mugen. And it didn't really matter that what Jiang taught her is for her to find balance in life and not to go to war using the gods, because Mugen did attack and Nikan is not ready at all. Most of the warlords, including Neisa's father, did not take the threat seriously at all. That it is too late, and their attack reached even Shinagard, where even third-year students like Rin and Kite had to fight in the war. At one point in the war, she even fought the attacking army along with Neisa, who has been her enemy for so long in the school. They fought trusting each other and they actually did some damage to the enemy's rank. But when their general arrived, their powerless again hit. Jiang came to their rescue and opened the Pantheon, summoning things from inside it, which caused more damage to the Federation army, but still their general lives. When he stabbed Neisa and started approaching Rin, She finally decided to eat the poppy seeds she stole from Jiang and summon the phoenix, burning everything near her and killing the enemy general before finally managing to cut off the phoenix and losing consciousness. And as a result of that, she was imprisoned for being dangerous. Some people seem to recognize the phoenix she summoned and assume she was a spearly, which might be possible since she was an orphan and the phoenix is the god of the spear. Unfortunately, Jiang has gone missing after he opened the portal, so there's really no one she can turn to for answer. And this also means that she can be in any of the 12th Division Army, where her friends are now after the collapse of the school, because the other 11 will be too jealous of the division that got her. So she was sent to the 13th Division, the CK, the freak children of Nikara, where Alton is. She went with Alton to meet the rest of the CK, which is a very small division consisting of only about 10 or so people, and every one of them are shamans, just like Rin and Jiang that have gods within them. Rin and Jiang have the phoenix, and there are 3 people who took clear inspiration from Journey of the West, with monkey, pig, and river gods within them. But we also learn here that once someone becomes a shaman and have a god dwell in their mind, they'll eventually become an immortal that lost their mind, a danger to the world in all senses. But they are now losing the wars against Mugen, and the war here is far more brutal than most fiction I've read, so major trigger warning for this. As with a lot of the world building in the book, it took a lot of inspiration from old wars with the Nanjing Massacre where Japan invaded China under the command of their god, their emperor, so they don't view a lot of their enemy as human beings. If those people have holes, they'll try to stick things to them, their dicks, their weapons, some bottles and any random items they could find. There's even an event that took a lot of inspiration from Unit 731, which is still one of the most cruel war crimes in our history. And experiencing all of this nightmare, Rin cannot help but call upon the power of the gods that might not just destroy the Mugen, but also the war itself. The story moved at quite a fast pace from when Rin was just a girl trying to find a better life outside the small town she lived, to a woman who had to fight in a war that's not even fought for the sake of her kind. But the progression of the story always flows smoothly. The story often took the time to flesh out the scene and the characters. It only really rushed around the end where the characters feel like they're fast traveling across the continents, where at the start it took them 3 weeks to go to one place to another, and now they're just instantly there. But despite those flaws, the author still managed to write memorable characters while building a world that feels so rich with history and time that is too fast to tell in any one book, and have those characters face situations and choices that actually feels impossible to make, which makes for a compelling story. There are a few plot points that is unanswered yet, and some that are highly questionable from the book, but since it might be answered later, I hold my judgment on those yet. I give this a 4.25. What do you think? Let me know if I miss anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.